Ren Zhengfei, Huawei's founder, heroically navigates company through American sanctions. In 2012, American authorities claimed China might use Huawei for espionage. In 2018, the firm's CFO, and Ren's daughter, was indicted for violating sanctions on Iran. By 2020, most American firms were barred from doing business with Huawei, and foreign firms were barred from selling it chips or other gear using American technology. America also discouraged other countries from using Huawei's equipment in their mobile phone networks. This assault significantly impacted Huawei. It had to sell its main smartphone brand due to a lack of chips. More than a dozen rich countries excluded it from 5G contracts, and its revenues fell by 30% in 2021, with net profits plummeting by 70% in 2022. In a memo, Ren emphasized survival. The first thing is to survive. We have a future if we survive. Despite ongoing American attacks, such as the May revocation of special permits for Intel and Qualcomm to sell chips to Huawei, the company has thrived. In Q1 of this year, net profits surged by 564% year-on-year to 19.7 billion yuan, $2.7 billion. Huawei has re-entered the handset business, and telecoms equipment sales are rising again. Much of this success is due to replacing foreign technology with homegrown parts and programs, making it less vulnerable to future American hostility. By 2020, Huawei was not only the world's biggest smartphone maker but also the leading provider of mobile network gear, with a market share of 30%. America's blitz only briefly shook this empire. Huawei's 2023 sales were about $100 billion, twice those of Oracle. While it is half the size of Samsung, it outspends it on research and development, R&D. Huawei's R&D budget of $23 billion in 2023 was exceeded only by Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft. Its profits of about $12.3 billion last year equaled Cisco Systems and vastly exceeded those of Ericsson and Nokia. Huawei's workforce has grown by 12,000 since 2021, even as its competitors laid off staff. Huawei's core business, telecoms network equipment, generated about half of its revenues last year. This division has also taken on consulting projects, streamlining operations for various businesses, competing with Cisco Systems, Siemens, and Honeywell. The consumer division, making up a third of sales, produces various devices that connect with 5G, including fancy smartphones, watches, televisions, and systems for Chinese electric vehicles, EVs. Revenue from consumer devices grew by 17% in 2023, driven by new smartphones. A cloud computing unit, accounting for nearly a tenth of revenues, saw sales grow by 22% last year. As Microsoft reduced its operations in China due to American sanctions, Huawei reportedly absorbed many of its engineers. Another rapidly growing unit focuses on energy, including EV charging networks. American sanctions have concentrated Huawei's business in China, with foreign sales now only a third of the total, down from half in 2017. This shift has pushed Huawei to innovate and develop replacements for foreign components and software. Huawei claims to have replaced 13,000 foreign-made parts with Chinese ones, a costly endeavor. American sanctions have driven Huawei to develop its own intellectual property and diversify into new lines of business. For instance, it revived smartphone sales by collaborating with a Chinese supplier to develop suitable chips, previously bought from foreign firms. The Mate 60 Pro Plus, released in September, contains 70% Chinese-made components by value. This helped Huawei achieve a 15.5% share of smartphone sales in China in Q1 2024, up from about 9% during the same period in 2023, matching Apple's share. Since 2019, American firms have been prohibited from selling software to Huawei, forcing it to develop alternatives. Huawei created MetaERP, an internal management system, to replace Oracle's software. It may eventually compete with Oracle and SAP. Huawei's operating system and #40 OS and #41 Harmony was initially developed for watches and other gadgets. American sanctions on software forced Huawei to integrate Harmony into its phones. The popularity of new models has encouraged developers to create more Harmony-compatible apps. The current version, built with open-source Android code, supports Android apps. Harmony OS, used across Huawei's consumer products, reportedly has 700 million users and 2.2 million developers. The next version is expected to eliminate all Android link code, making it fully independent from the West. This could harm business, as there are few native apps, but it would make Harmony a competitor to Android and iOS. American sanctions have also led Huawei to diversify, expanding software sales to firms in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Rather than stifling Huawei, cutting it off from Western technology has increased its innovation incentives.